So today's Fertility Scope, I'm going to be talking about the top fertility foods from around the world. We have a lot of international readers, a lot of international customers, and they're always asking what are some foods that are in my region that might be fertility rich. And I'm going to talk about them, like a wide range of them, 10 of them actually. And why they're considered fertility foods. So this is going to be a little bit different than a lot of the foods that I might talk about just here in the United States. So good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Heather Rodriguez. I'm a natural fertility specialist, and my team and I help couples who are preparing for conception. You can find my resources at naturalfertilityinfo.com and Natural Fertility Shop. Okay, so the first one is going to be one that we all have access to, that you've heard of before, and it's going to be walnuts. And walnuts have a history with fertility, and it's pretty neat because it's pretty historical. So for walnuts, the Romans believed that walnuts actually increased libido and sexual desire. They also were traditionally served at Roman weddings because they were considered to instill fertility with the bride and the groom. Good morning, Patty. Nice to see you today. But current research has found that walnuts, of course, are fantastic for fertility. They're going to have zinc, they're going to have essential fatty acids, which help to build healthy hormones, and they're also very good for sperm health. So I think it's really neat that, back in the day, that walnuts were a major part of the wedding to help instill fertility for the couples. So eat your walnuts. They're also a really affordable nut. The second is going to be maca root. This is one that you've heard about over and over again, but it actually is a food for the people in the Andes, the Andean people. And this has been a popular food for thousands of years, it's been known to help to increase fertility, energy, hormonal balance, boost immune system. A lot of athletes use it. But it's something that they actually used like a turnip. It looks like a turnip. They would roast them, they would grind them up and put them in things. They would eat the roasted turnips. They actually fed it to their animals as well, so they had healthy fertility. So that's a food that's been used for thousands of years to help to nourish the endocrine system, the pituitary gland, adrenal gland, thyroid gland, all the glands that are involved with hormonal production. Maca is very nourishing for. So that's a food that has been used for thousands of years that we have access to today, which is so awesome. The third is going to be, this is one I have not had before, and let me know if you guys have heard of this or have had it. It's crapit heed. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I have not seen fresh maca like root in the United States. When I was in Ecuador, we lived there for a couple of months. It was at the grocery store. It was just like turnips or like yams in a basket, but I have not seen it in the United States. So crapit heed. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's from Gaelic fishermen from the coast of Scotland. So this is a fish head that they take and they stuff it with liver, they stuff it with oats. It's like a nutrient-dense packed fish head. And this was something that they believe would guarantee strong and healthy babies if they ate this. So maybe you guys want to try that? I don't have a recipe for you, but that's something that they were doing in Scotland. So I thought that was really interesting. The other is going to be coconuts. And a lot of times with these foods, you can kind of think of the doctrine of signatures. The doctrine of signatures is where the food looks like what it's good for. So blueberries look like eyes, so they're good for the eyes. If you cut a carrot, it looks just like an iris, good for the eyes as well. Walnuts look like a brain, they're good for the brain. So doctrine of signatures for coconut, the coconut is thought in India to look like the uterus, look like a womb. So on the wedding day, during wedding ceremonies, a coconut is used. This is from my research. I haven't been to an Indian wedding, but a coconut is actually used during the ceremony to represent the new life and the womb, to help bless that so that there are children to come. So I thought that was really beautiful, and it's interesting too because coconuts are fantastic on the fertility diet because they're essential fatty acids. So these doctrine of signatures make a whole lot of sense to me. So the fifth is going to be fish roe. Have you guys ever had fish roe? It's going to be like the little fish eggs that you can get in the jar at the grocery store. Yay! Nice to see you. Oh no. So fish roe. So fish roe are going to be the tiny little fish eggs. Oh, you like them? Cool. Very cool. So this is another Andean food. A lot of different cultures were eating fish roe, and I was actually surprised that it was one of the things that they traded with. Oh, great. The one yesterday, I'm glad that or 2 days ago. Great. Peaches. So what do you think peaches are good for? It doesn't work across the board, but like not every single thing does it work for. Like peaches, what do you think peaches are good for? That's so funny. I have an idea what you're saying. So what they would do is they catch, they would get the fish eggs and they would dry them out and then they would take them home. And they would go hundreds of miles to go to the ocean to get this food because it was so important for their women for fertility. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So this was something that they were eating to make sure that they had healthy fertility. And this is something that in modern day, we know that fish roe, even though it is an acquired taste, it's fishy. It's very, very fishy. Also, you can have caviar. That's another word for it. But it's super, super nutrient dense. So it makes a lot of sense that this was something that they were using to help boost their fertility. Another one, which is one that we all have access to, is pastured eggs. In China, eggs are considered to be an important food for health, as they are here in the United States, and women are encouraged to eat as many as 10 eggs a day during pregnancy. 10 eggs a day during pregnancy. So they consider it a sacred food, a food for fertility, and a food for healthy pregnancy. And it's interesting because the egg is extremely healthy. The egg yolk has choline in it. It has nutrients in it that are very specific for helping the baby, the growing fetus, to develop a nervous system and a healthy brain. So it's just really interesting how I think a lot of these things get found out through, I don't know about trial and error, but just through time and get passed on. And then here we finally study it with our science, and we find out just how healthy they are. Runny egg in pregnancy, that's up to you. You know, that's up to you and how you feel, where your egg sources are. Yeah, individual choice. The next is going to be bone marrow. Bone marrow. Is this something that, I think caviar is fantastic for you. Is this something you guys have had before? My lighting is a little off today. You love bone marrow. We have very similar tastes. Any kind. Yeah, so obviously it would be best from a, grass-fed arranged animal, but the only place I hardly ever get bone marrow is when I go out to a restaurant. So, it would be great for broth. Fantastic. Oh, you're eating bone marrow right now. Are you having eggs or are you having bone marrow right now? I would not guess you guys all of you have had bone marrow. That's so cool. You make noodle bowls with it. Yum. I know. It's like, oh, I'm eating my bone marrow right now. So anyway, so bone marrow, it's a traditional dish across a couple of different cultures. It's very high in nutrients, fats, and minerals. It's what's inside of the bone. So what you do is you would like bake a broth, or you would cook or roast meat or something, and then the bone, you would scrape out the marrow, and it's going to be this brown, rich, caramelized, pasty substance that is very, very rich in flavor. You could like put it on a cracker, you could put it on bread, whatever. But it's very nutrient dense. So it's something that you can put in stews and sauces. It's something that we actually have access to that I think a lot of people end up throwing away. They don't know about it. So bone marrow. The next is going to be yams, and these happen to be one of my favorite foods. I have some actually cooking upstairs right now, but they're thought to boost fertility. And it's funny because yams are one of the plants that we use to make, or that can be used to make progesterone cream or wild yam cream. A little bit different, but yams. Yeah, and they're also, this is from Africa. It's something that they're high in iron, they're high in minerals, and there's a tribe in Africa, I actually don't know their name, but they have a higher than average rate of multiple births, and a large part of their diet, they have a diet very high in yams. So twins are more common there than any other place in the world, and they eat a lot of yams. So I don't know. Food for thought, right? Fresh figs is the next one. So number 9 is fresh figs. Your grandma and cousins have twins. Interesting. Are they identical or are they fraternal? Because fraternal can be genetic. So Greeks thought figs were representation of a fertile female. If you look at the shape of a fig, it's kind of like she got like some hips. Fraternal, yeah. So that could actually be genetic. It could be very normal for the women in your family to ovulate two eggs at each cycle. So they thought that the shape of the fig would represent the woman, the fertile woman, curvy woman. And it turns out that figs are high in minerals, magnesium, iron. These are two very important nutrients, two important minerals for fertility. So I thought that was just really interesting. But if you again look at the shape of the fig, and they're very sensual to eat, And then the last one, I'm going to want to hear from you guys to see if this is another thing you eat. Because if you guys are eating bone marrow, you might be eating this as well. Animal organs. So the hunter and gatherers across Amazon, Africa, Canada, Australia, they would save the nutrient-rich organs for women who were in their childbearing years so that they made sure that they were getting the most nutrient-dense foods. And they believed that this would be like, again, the marrow, the liver, the adrenal glands, and the blood. And they felt that that was the most nutrient-dense part of the animal, so the women in their fertile years would actually get those pieces of the meat, and then the rest of the tribe would eat the other pieces of meat. So I find that really interesting, and I find it really cool that these communities come together and make sure to provide for the childbearing women, or they would gather it themselves, these more nutrient-dense foods. So the people have been focusing on, you need to go to the grocery store. Yep. You need to, it's like we've known for so long how important nutrition is to fertility and that period of time before getting pregnant. So I thought this would be a neat way to kind of explore some new foods for you that would be nutrient dense. We have walnuts, maca root, crapet heed. Anyone have that? I have a recipe. Coconut, fish roe, pastured eggs, bone marrow, yams, fresh figs, and animal organs. I actually find chicken liver to be very accessible first step if someone is wanting to kind of go that direction. Is maca supposed to taste smoky? I think maca tastes malty. So it may, if you have a gelatinized or sometimes red maca might taste a little bit darker. I don't know about smoky. I say more like a malty. So yeah, so that's my topic for today. I'm going to get going, get to work. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you again next week.